My name is Nicole, and I come from a small town in the south of France. I was 19 years old when my parents told me they had a big surprise. They said it would help me grow and learn English. My mother looked so happy when she told me. My father smiled proudly and said, "You are going to England, my dear." At first, I thought he was joking. I had never been out of France before. I didn't even have a passport until that week. But they were serious. My parents had found an au pair program through an agency. The agency said I would live with an English family for 1 month and help take care of their children. I would get food, a small room, and a chance to practice English every day. My parents thought it was perfect. They paid the agency a lot of money, but they didn't mind. "Education is more important than money," my mother said. I felt excited. I wanted to see England. I imagined green fields, red buses, and people drinking tea while saying, "Lovely weather today." I wanted to see Big Ben and maybe even the Queen. I told my friends, "When I come back, I will speak English very well." They laughed and said, "Bring us some tea bags." The agency sent me the address of the family. Their last name was Patel. I thought it sounded interesting but did not ask much about it. I was too busy dreaming of London. I packed my small suitcase with clothes, my French-English dictionary, and a box of chocolates for the host family. The day I left, my parents drove me to the train station. My mother cried a little and told me not to forget to write. My father hugged me and said, "We are proud of you. Nicole." I waved goodbye and said, "I will be fine. I will call you soon." The trip was long but exciting. I took a train to Paris, then a ferry to cross the sea. When the ferry arrived, the sky was gray and full of clouds. So this is England, I thought. It was colder than I expected. I pulled my jacket closer and smiled. Everything felt new and strange. At the station, I took a bus to the small town where my host family lived. The driver spoke to me, but his accent was hard to understand. I only caught a few words like "next stop" and "careful." I smiled and said, "Yes, thank you," even though I wasn't sure what he said. When the bus stopped, I got off and looked for the address. My heart was beating fast. I was excited, but also nervous. When I found the house, I rang the bell. A woman opened the door with a big smile. "You must be Nicole," she said. Her English was different from what I heard in movies. There was another sound in her voice, something warm and musical. "Yes, I am Nicole," I said slowly. She nodded. "Come in, come in." Inside the house, the smell hit me first. It was not like French food at all. It was spicy and strong, but not in a bad way. The woman said, "You must be tired. Sit down. I'll bring you chai." I didn't know what chai was, but I smiled. "Thank you," I said politely. A man came from another room. He smiled too. "Welcome, Nicole," he said. "I am Raj. This is my wife, Meena. And these are our children, Priya and Arjun." The children looked shy but waved. I waved back and said, "Nice to meet you." Mina gave me a cup of hot drink. It was sweet, creamy, and full of flavor. "This is chai," she said proudly. I liked it, but I didn't understand why the tea had spices in it. I decided not to ask. Later, they showed me my room. It was small but clean. There was a window with a view of the garden and a small desk. Mina said, "If you need anything, you tell me." I thanked her and smiled again. Everything seemed fine, even if it was not what I had imagined. That night, I tried to talk to the children, but they spoke so fast. Sometimes they mixed English with another language. I didn't understand much. When I said, "Do you want to play?" they answered, "Yes, Dee." I didn't know what Dee meant, but they said it happily, so I smiled. Later, I learned it meant big sister. The next morning, I woke up early and went to the kitchen. Mina was already cooking. The smell was strong again. She gave me a plate of rice with yellow sauce. "Breakfast," she said. I looked at it. "Rice?" I asked. She nodded. "Yes, rice with curry. Eat, eat." I had never eaten rice for breakfast before, but I didn't want to be rude. I took a bite. It was spicy but delicious. Mina smiled. "Good, yes?" I said, "Very good," though my eyes were watering from the heat. When I tried to call my parents later, Mina said, "No phone here. You can use post office." I was surprised. "No internet?" I asked. She shook her head. "No Wi-Fi. Maybe later." I didn't know what to do. I wanted to tell my parents I was safe, but I couldn't. I decided to write them a small postcard the next day. In the afternoon, Mina asked me to take the children to the park. I was happy to go outside. The weather was nice, and the sun was out for once. The park was full of people, many of them speaking languages I didn't know. The children ran and played. A woman sitting next to me started talking. I thought she was speaking English, but I couldn't understand most of it. I smiled and said, "Yes." Every time she looked at me, she seemed happy with that. That evening, Raj came home from work. He asked me, "How was your day?" I said, "Very good, thank you." He laughed and said, "You learn fast." I laughed too, even though I only knew about 10 English words. The days passed quickly. Every morning I helped Mina with breakfast. I washed dishes and played with Priya and Arjun. Sometimes Mina tried to teach me new English words, but she mixed them with Hindi. "Cup, pyala," she said one day, pointing at a cup. I said, "Cup?" And she said, "Yes, also pyala." I repeated it, and she smiled proudly. In the evenings, the whole house smelled like curry. Raj cooked fish one night and said, "This is masala fish. Very good." I tried it. It was spicy again, but full of flavor. I told Mina, "Delicious!" She clapped her hands and said, "You speak English very well now." We both laughed. One Saturday, we all went to the market. It was busy and colorful. People sold vegetables, fruits, and clothes. Mina bought many spices. I saw names I couldn't read. She said, "You learn all this, Nicole. Then you can make curry too." I said, "Maybe one day." I liked how she always smiled. Sometimes I felt lonely because I couldn't talk to my parents. I went to the post office to send a postcard. I wrote slowly in French. "I am fine. The family is kind. The food is very spicy. I think I am learning something, but not English." I smiled while writing it. The man at the counter took the card and said something I didn't understand. I just nodded again. At night, I sat by my window and watched the sky. The stars looked different here. The street was quiet, and I could hear the sound of someone playing music from a nearby house. It was soft and full of drums. I didn't understand the words, but it sounded happy. Every day I tried to speak more English. I watched television with the children, but they liked Indian cartoons. They laughed and sang the songs. I joined them, even if I had no idea what the words meant. Sometimes Raj looked at me and said, "You are part of family now." That made me smile. I didn't know what the next weeks would bring, but I was sure of one thing. My time in England was not going to be like I imagined. It was different, strange, and funny, but it was only the beginning. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The next week started with rain. It rained every day, and the sky was always gray. I soon learned that this was normal in England. Mina said, "Rain is good. It makes the plants happy." I didn't feel happy when I had to walk to the post office in it, but I smiled anyway. Each morning, I helped the children get ready for school. Priya never wanted to eat breakfast fast, and Arjun always forgot his shoes. Mina laughed and said, "Children are like that." She was patient and kind. I liked her more every day, even if I still didn't understand half of what she said. Sometimes she spoke English, sometimes Hindi, and sometimes both together. My head often felt full of words that made no sense. When the children went to school, I cleaned the kitchen and helped Mina with cooking. She liked to talk while she cooked. She told me stories about India, about hot summers, big weddings, and mango trees. I didn't understand everything, but I liked to listen. I liked her voice. It sounded warm, like music. One morning, Mina said, "Nicole, today we go shopping." I thought we were going to the supermarket, but we went to a small shop that sold colorful clothes and gold jewelry. Mina said, "You need new dress." I said, "Oh, I'm fine." But she shook her head. No, you wear Indian dress today." She gave me a bright pink outfit. It was long, soft, and full of little shiny decorations. "This is salwar kameez," she said proudly. I went to try it on. When I came out, Mina clapped her hands. "Beautiful! You look Indian now." I looked in the mirror and laughed. I looked very different. The pants were big and loose, and the scarf around my neck kept falling off. I said, "It's very hingy." Mina laughed and said, "Pink is happy color." When we went outside, people smiled at me. One old woman even said, "Nice dress, dear." I felt shy, but also proud. Maybe I didn't speak English well, but I could wear it with style. That evening, Raj came home and said, "Wow, Nicole, you look like Bollywood's star." I didn't know what that meant, but I guessed it was good. The children laughed and danced around me, singing a song from their favorite movie. It was a happy moment. A few days later, something funny happened. Mina asked me to go to the nearby shop to buy milk. She wrote the name of the shop and said, "Just tell them 1 milk." I walked there with confidence. When I reached the counter, the man asked, "Full fat or semi-skimmed?" I froze. I had no idea what that meant. I said, "Yes." He laughed. "No, which one?" He asked again. I just pointed at one bottle. He smiled and said, "All right, love." I didn't know what love meant in this case, but I smiled too. England was full of surprises. Later that day, I told Mina about it, and she laughed so hard that she had to sit down. "Oh, Nicole," she said, "you are learning English the funny way." I laughed too. She wasn't wrong. Every day was a new lesson. Sometimes I missed home. I missed my parents and the smell of my mother's bread in the kitchen. But Mina made me feel less lonely. She would give me sweets and say, "Eat this. It will make you strong." The sweets were soft and very sweet, made of milk and sugar. She said they were called barfi. I liked the name almost as much as the taste. On Sundays, Raj didn't work, so the whole family stayed home. They watched movies on TV, long, colorful films full of singing and dancing. I didn't understand the words, but the stories were easy to follow. There was always a man, a woman, some drama, and a happy ending. The children laughed and clapped. Raj explained, "This is Bollywood." I said, "Like Hollywood?" He smiled. "Yes, but with more dancing." One Sunday afternoon, Mina said, "Nicole, come. You help me cook." I followed her to the kitchen. She showed me how to make chapati, a round flat bread. "You roll it like this," she said. I tried, but my chapati looked more like a square. Mina laughed so hard she almost dropped the pan. "Very good. You make new shape." I laughed too. After some practice, my chapatis started to look better. "Now you can open restaurant," Raj said later at dinner. I smiled proudly. "Nicole's French curry house," I said. Everyone laughed. The next day, I walked the children to school. On the way, a woman stopped me and asked for directions. I understood only the words bus and library. I tried to help, but all I could say was, "Bus? There." And I pointed in one direction. She smiled politely and walked away. I felt embarrassed but also amused. Well, I thought, at least I spoke some English. Later, I met another au pair at the park. Her name was Sophia, and she was from Spain. She had been in England for 2 months already. She spoke better English than me, but not perfect. We both laughed at how difficult it was. "People speak too fast," Sophia said, "and they eat breakfast with beans." I laughed and said, "Yes, and they say funny words like cheers all the time." We became good friends after that. Sophia told me her host family was British, but they didn't talk much to her. She said they were polite but quiet. I told her about Meena and Raj. She smiled and said, "Your family sounds nice. And you eat curry every day?" I nodded. "Yes, and I love it now." Sophia laughed. "You are becoming Indian, not English." I laughed too. "Maybe," I said, "but at least the food is never boring." That evening, I helped Priya with her homework. It was English homework, so it was not easy for me either. She pointed at a picture of an apple and said, "Apple." I repeated, "Apple." She smiled. Then she pointed at a cat and said, "Cat." I said, "Cat." She clapped her hands. "Very good, Nicole," she said. I laughed. "Now you are my teacher," I told her. It felt funny that a 7-year-old was teaching me English, but it made us both happy. One day, Raj brought home some friends from work. They were all Indian too. Meena cooked a big dinner. There were many dishes with rice, vegetables, and fish. The smell filled the whole house. I helped serve the food. One man asked me, "Do you like Indian food?" I said, "Yes, very much, especially the fish." He smiled. "Ah, you like masala fish." I repeated the words carefully. "Masala fish." Everyone laughed softly. Raj said, "Soon she will cook better than Meena." Meena laughed. "Never." After dinner, they played music and clapped their hands. They asked me to dance. I said, "I can't dance." But they said, "Just try." So I tried. The children laughed and clapped. I moved my arms and tried to follow their steps. It was silly, but it was fun. For a moment, I forgot that I was in another country. It felt like home. As the days went on, I started to understand small English phrases. I could say, "How are you?" and "Very nice weather," even when it was raining. Raj said, "Good job, Nicole," and I felt proud. Still, I realized that I heard more Hindi than English in the house. Sometimes I wondered if my parents would be disappointed that I was not learning the right language. But then I thought about how much I had learned about life, food, and kindness. Maybe that was even better. One night before bed, Meena came to my room. She said, "Nicole, you are a good girl. Children love you. We love you too." I felt warm inside. "Thank you," I said softly. "You are my English family." Meena smiled. "Yes, family is not only about blood. It is about heart." Her words were simple, but they stayed with me. As I went to sleep, I thought about how strange and funny life could be. I came to England to learn English, but I was learning something very different. Something about people, culture, and love. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew this was a journey I would never forget. The last week of my stay in England came too fast. I could not believe a month had already passed. Every day felt full and busy. I had learned to make chapatis, wash rice the right way, and even dance a little like Mina's favorite actress. I could not say I had learned much English, but I knew many other things. That Monday morning, Mina said, "Nicole, we go to temple today." I asked, "Temple?" She smiled. "Yes, our place to pray." "You come with us," I agreed because I wanted to see everything I could before going home. I wore the pink salwar kameez she gave me, and she helped me fix the scarf around my neck. The temple was bright and full of color. The air smelled like flowers and something sweet. People smiled and said, "Namaste." I tried to say it back. Inside, it was quiet. Everyone took off their shoes. I followed. Mina showed me how to fold my hands and bow. I did my best to do it right. I did not understand the words the priest said, but I liked the calm feeling there. When we came out, Mina gave me something small and sticky to eat. "Prasad," she said. "It is blessing." I smiled and ate it. It was sweet and soft. That day, I felt something strange. I was not just a guest anymore. I felt like part of their world, even if I didn't understand everything. When we went back home, Mina looked at me and said, "You will leave soon. We will miss you." My heart felt heavy. "I will miss you too," I said. It was true. This house had become my second home. A few days later, Raj said he wanted to take me to the city. "You must see London before you go," he said. I was very excited. We all took the train together. It was my first time seeing such a big city. The buildings were tall, the people were everywhere, and the traffic never stopped. Raj showed me the London Eye, the big river, and the red buses. "This is real England," he said proudly. We went to a small cafe for lunch. I wanted to try something English at last. The waiter asked what we wanted. Raj and Mina ordered tea and something called chips. I said, "Fish and chips, please." It sounded safe. When the plate came, I looked at the golden fried fish and smiled. But when I tasted it, I laughed. "It's not spicy," I said. Mina laughed too. "Not everything must have masala," she said. But I had to admit, I missed the spice already. When we went back to the train, I bought small gifts from a shop. A keychain with a red bus for my father, a tea towel with the Queen's face for my mother, and a small toy for Priya and Arjun. I wanted to leave them something to remember me. The night before my flight, the house was quiet. Mina came to my room with a plate of food. "Your favorite," she said. "Masala fish." I smiled and almost cried. The smell filled the room. It was my last dinner in that kitchen. We all ate together, laughing and talking about small things. Raj said. "Next time you come, you must stay longer." I said, "Next time, I will speak better English." Meena laughed. "Or maybe Hindi," she said. After dinner, the children gave me a small card they had made. It said, "We love you, Nicole Didi." There were little hearts drawn in red crayon. I hugged them both tightly. "I love you too," I said softly. That night, I could not sleep. I looked around my small room. The suitcase was packed again. The scarf Meena gave me was folded neatly inside. My heart felt full. I thought about how I was scared when I first arrived. I did not know what chai was, or masala, or what Didi meant. Now, all those things felt like part of me. I had come to England to learn a language, but I had learned something else: how big and kind the world could be. The next morning, Raj drove me to the train station. Meena hugged me for a long time before I left. "You take care, Nicole," she said. "Call us when you reach home." I promised I would, even if it meant walking to the post office again. The train ride back to London felt strange. I looked out the window and saw the green fields passing by. I felt sad, but also proud. I had survived my first trip abroad. I had friends in another country now. And I had a story to tell. When I reached home in France, my parents were waiting at the station. My mother ran to me and hugged me. My father smiled and said, "Our English girl is back." I laughed. It felt good to be home. At dinner, they both looked at me eagerly. "Tell us everything," my mother said. "How was England?" My father added, "Can you speak English now?" I smiled. I didn't know how to start. I told them about Meena and Raj, about Priya and Arjun, about the curry, the temple, and the clothes. My parents listened carefully. Then my mother said, "But Nicole, you were there for 1 month. Surely you can speak English better now." I laughed. "Not really," I said. "The family spoke more Hindi than English." My father looked surprised. "Hindi?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes, they were from India." My mother's eyes grew wide. "You mean, you went to England to learn English, but your host family was Indian?" I smiled and took a bite of my food. "Yes," I said. "But it was not a waste." My father raised his eyebrows. "Not a waste?" he said. "You didn't learn English?" I shook my head and grinned. "No, but I learned what masala fish is." My parents looked at each other and then started laughing. My mother laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. "Oh, Nicole," she said, "only you could go to England and come back speaking Hindi and eating spicy food." I laughed too. "Maybe next time I will go to Spain and come back speaking Italian," I said. We all laughed together. It felt warm and happy, just like the family dinners in England. My parents were still amused when my mother asked, "Would you go again?" I thought for a moment. "Yes," I said. "But next time, maybe I will check who the family is first." That night, as I lay in my own bed again, I felt grateful. The trip was not what I expected, but it was something better. I learned that the world is full of surprises. Sometimes things go wrong, but they can still make you smile. Before I closed my eyes, I thought about Mina and her warm smile, Raj's jokes, and the children calling me Dee. I could almost smell the spice of masala fish in the air. I whispered softly, "Thank you," both in French and in Hindi. Because even if I did not learn English, I learned something far more important: how different people can make you feel at home, even in a strange country. And that, to me, was the best lesson of all. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English. My name is Marta. I am 52 years old. I live in a small house in Chieti, a quiet town in Italy. People here like to talk. They always talk about someone, and often that someone is me. They say I came from another place, maybe from Romania. They say I speak with a strange accent. Some even say I am not really Italian. I never correct them. Let them talk. People in small towns need stories to tell. I live with my daughter Anna. She is 21 years old, kind and beautiful. She studies English and dreams of going to London next summer. She wants to study there and find a good job. She says London will change her life. I smile and tell her I am happy for her. But inside, I am scared. I know what it means to go far away. I know how lonely it feels to start again in a place where no one knows your name. We have a dog, Max. He is a small brown dachshund. He has short legs and long ears. Everyone in the neighborhood knows him. When we go for a walk, people always greet Max, never me. They smile at him but look away from me. They whisper when they think I can't hear. I pretend I don't notice. I look straight ahead and walk faster. I do not have a job. I used to work in a small cafe, but it closed 2 years ago. Since then, I stay home. I clean, cook, and take care of small things. In the morning, I open the window and smell the air. I see the same people walk to work, the same cars passing, the same sky above the roofs. Life moves slowly here, sometimes too slowly. In the afternoon, I drink wine. I know people call me a drunk. They think I do not care about myself, but they don't know why I drink. I don't drink to forget who I am. I drink to stop feeling so empty. A glass of red wine makes the silence softer. 2 glasses make the hours shorter. 3 glasses make the pain quiet for a while. At Aldi, the supermarket, I fill my cart with bottles of red wine. People stare. I see their eyes. They do not need to say anything. Their faces say it all. I hear them whisper, "The old lush is buying again." Sometimes I want to tell them to mind their own lives, but I don't. It's useless. Words don't change people's thoughts. When I sit in my kitchen with a glass of wine, I think about my past. I once had a husband. His name was Carlo. We lived near the sea, in Pescara. He was handsome and funny. but he drank too. At first, I thought he drank because of work. Later, I learned he drank because of himself. He shouted when he was angry and broke things when he was drunk. I stayed for a long time, too long. But when Anna turned 12, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed one small bag, took Anna and Max, and left. We came to Chieti with no money and no plan. I found a small house and tried to build a new life. People in Chieti were not kind at first. They smiled, but their smiles were small and empty. I was an outsider. I spoke differently. I dressed differently. And soon, they noticed that I drank. It was easy for them to give me a name, the Old Lush. They didn't know my story, but they liked to guess. Sometimes I go to a small restaurant in the town square. I sit alone, near the window. I order pasta and a glass of wine. I look at people passing by. I listen to the sound of voices around me. It feels nice for a moment, like I am part of the world. But then I hear someone whisper my name. They talk about me as if I can't hear. They say I have no job, that I live from money sent by a secret lover. I almost laugh. There is no lover. There is no secret. There is only me trying to live one day at a time. But people always want to find something strange about others. They ask why I don't work, why I sometimes disappear for a few days, why I walk alone. They don't know that I travel sometimes to see my sister. She lives in another town, and she is very sick. I visit her and bring food and medicine. No one here knows about her. I don't tell them because they don't care about truth. They care only about gossip. One cold day in December, something strange happened. It was 1 week before Christmas. The sky was gray and the air smelled like snow. A dark car stopped in front of my house. It had black windows, and I could not see who was inside. I watched from behind my curtain. Then 3 people got out, 2 men and 1 woman. They wore dark coats and looked serious. They stood in front of my gate and talked. One of the men held a folder. My heart started to beat fast. I thought maybe they were police. But why would the police come here? I had done nothing wrong. I told myself it was a mistake. I didn't open the door. I waited until they left. When I looked again, the car was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in bed, holding a half-empty glass of wine. Max slept on my feet. I kept thinking about that car. Who were those people? Why did they come? I felt watched. I felt small again, like a child who did something bad and was waiting to be punished. The next morning I told Anna. She laughed at first and said maybe they were just lost. But I saw the worry in her eyes. She closed her book and looked out the window for a long time. Later, I heard her on the phone, speaking quietly. When she saw me, she hung up. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't want to know. 2 days later, another car came. This time it was a white van. It parked in front of our house. The windows were small and dark. I watched from the kitchen window. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe it was a delivery. But my hands were shaking. Then the bell rang. When I opened the door, a man stood there. He was tall and had short black hair. He wore a black jacket and dark glasses. Even though it was winter, he looked like someone ready for the sun. "Señora Marta?" he asked. His voice was calm, too calm. I nodded slowly. "We need to talk," he said. "It's about your past." I felt the world stop for a moment. My past. That word again. I wanted to close the door, but my hand wouldn't move. The man smiled a little. "Please come with us," he said. "It's important." I didn't know what to do. I looked down at Max, who was barking softly. I looked at the street, quiet and cold. And then, for some reason, I went inside to get my coat. I put on my sunglasses, even though the sky was gray. I locked the door behind me and walked to the van. The man opened the door for me. I climbed inside. The van drove away. I didn't look back at my house. I didn't want to see it disappear. As we turned the corner, I saw my neighbor, Mrs. Rossi. She was standing at her gate, holding her phone. I could almost hear her voice already. "The old lush is gone. The police took her." But they were not police, and I was not sure if I was ever coming back. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The van moved slowly through the narrow streets of Chieti. I looked out of the window, watching the town fade behind me. The sky was pale and cold. Small drops of rain began to fall, making soft sounds on the roof of the van. I sat in silence. My hands were cold, but I didn't want to ask anything yet. The man who had spoken to me sat in the front seat. Another man was driving. The woman sat beside me. She wore a dark coat and a scarf that covered half her face. I could not see her eyes. After a few minutes, I said, "Where are we going?" My voice was quiet, almost lost under the sound of the rain. The man in front turned his head a little. "We just need to talk, Señora," he said. "It won't take long." I did not answer. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking a little. I thought of Anna. I wished I had told her where I was going, but I left too fast. Maybe she was at home now, looking out the window, waiting for me. We left the town and drove into the hills. The road curved between olive trees and small houses. After 20 minutes, the van stopped near an old building with a high fence. The place looked empty. There was a metal gate and a small sign, but I couldn't read it from where I sat. The man opened the door. "Please come inside," he said. I stepped out. The air was cold and smelled like wet earth. The woman followed me. She opened a door and led me into a small room. It was clean but simple. One table, 2 chairs, and a small window with iron bars. The man sat down and opened the folder he carried. He looked at me carefully. "You know why we are here, don't you?" he asked. I shook my head. No, I said. I don't understand. He sighed. We are from the embassy. We have been looking for you. I blinked. The embassy? Yes, he said. You were born in Romania. You left 25 years ago. Your name was not always Marta. My mouth went dry. I felt the room getting smaller. You are wrong, I said. I live here. My name is Marta. The man looked at a paper and then at me. Your real name is Mihaela Radu. You worked as a nurse in Bucharest before coming to Italy. You left suddenly, without a record, after a hospital fire. I felt my chest tighten. The room seemed to spin. I don't know what you are talking about, I said. My voice sounded weak, even to me. The woman leaned forward. Her eyes were kind, but serious. We are not here to hurt you, she said. We just need to understand what happened. I looked at her. For a moment, I saw something like pity in her eyes. I wanted to tell them the truth, but I didn't know where to begin. The past had been buried for so long. I took a deep breath. There was a fire, I said softly. It was many years ago. I worked in a hospital then, yes, but it was an accident. I didn't do anything wrong. The man nodded slowly. We know it was not your fault, but one patient died. A woman named Irina Popescu. Her family never found out what really happened. They thought you disappeared because of guilt. I looked down at my hands again. I remembered that night. The smell of smoke, the screams, the sound of glass breaking. I remembered running into the fire to pull people out. I remembered holding a small child in my arms. I had burns on my hands for months. I had nightmares for years. I tried to save her, I whispered, but I couldn't. She was already gone when I found her. The woman nodded. We believe you, but someone wanted to blame you. There was a report written in your name. That's why you left Romania, isn't it? I felt a tear fall down my cheek. I wiped it quickly. Yes, I said. I was scared. They said I was responsible. I lost my job. My husband left me. I had nothing left. So I came here. I changed my name. I tried to start again. The man closed the folder. Thank you, he said quietly. You don't need to worry anymore. The case is closed now. We just needed to confirm your story. We had to be sure. I felt like I could breathe again. The air came back into my lungs slowly, like I had been underwater for a long time. So, what happens now? I asked. You are free to go, the woman said. We will not bother you again. I looked at her. Why now? Why after so many years? She gave a small smile. Someone has been asking about you. My heart stopped. Who? She paused. A man named Carlo. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I felt as if the floor had disappeared under me. Carlo? I whispered. My husband? The man nodded. Yes. He contacted the embassy. He said he needed to find you. He didn't tell us why. I felt a strange mix of anger and fear. I had not heard Carlo's name in 10 years. I didn't even know if he was alive. Why would he look for me now? I stood up. I want to go home, I said. The woman stood too. Of course. We will take you. The drive back felt longer. The rain had stopped, but the world outside looked gray and tired. I didn't say anything. My thoughts were heavy. Carlo. What did he want from me now? He had hurt me so deeply. He had made me afraid of love, of men, of myself. When we reached my house, I saw Anna waiting by the window. The moment I stepped out, she ran to me. Mama, where were you? I was so worried. She hugged me tight. I could feel her heart beating fast. I'm fine, I said softly. It was just some old people from work. I didn't tell her the truth. Not yet. I couldn't. That night I didn't open a bottle of wine. For the first time in a long time, I didn't want to drink. I sat by the window with a cup of tea instead. Max slept beside me. The house was quiet. At midnight, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. My hands trembled as I answered. Hello? I said. A familiar voice came through the line. Deep, slow, and heavy with time. Marta, the voice said. It's me. Carlo. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I need to see you, he said. It's important. I didn't speak. I just sat there, holding the phone, staring at the dark window. Outside, the rain started again, quiet and cold. I sat still, holding the phone. My hand was shaking. It had been 10 years since I last heard Carlo's voice. Time had changed it. It sounded slower, softer, older. But the sound still made my chest hurt. What do you want, Carlo? I asked quietly. There was a pause. I could hear him breathing. I'm in Chieti, he said. Please, Marta. I just want to talk. I didn't answer. I looked out the window. The street was empty and wet. The rain had stopped, but the road still shone under the streetlights. Max lifted his head, sensing my unease. I don't think we have anything to say, I said finally. He sighed. You're wrong, he said. I have something you should know. It's about Anna. My heart stopped. Anna. What about her? Please, he said. Let me come. Just one time. I wanted to hang up, but I couldn't. The fear in his voice made me feel cold. I didn't trust him, but I needed to know. Tomorrow morning, I said. 9 o'clock. But if you hurt her or me again, I'll call the police. He didn't argue. I'll be there. he said softly. When I ended the call, I felt empty. I sat in the dark for a long time. Anna came to the kitchen and asked what was wrong, but I told her it was nothing. She smiled and went back to her room. I couldn't tell her the truth yet. That night I didn't sleep. I watched the clock. Every sound felt louder. The ticking, the wind, the soft breathing of Max. My mind was full of old memories. Carlo's face, his voice, his anger, his smile. The man I once loved. The man who broke me. When morning came, I made coffee. I looked at my reflection in the kitchen window. My hair was messy, my eyes red. I looked older than I remembered. Maybe I really was the old lush they talked about. But not today. Today, I needed to be strong. At 9, I heard a car stop outside. My hands felt cold again. Through the window, I saw him. He was standing by an old gray car, wearing a dark coat and holding a hat. His hair was almost white now. His face was thin. Time had not been kind to him. I opened the door slowly. He smiled a little. "Hello, Marta." I didn't smile. "Come in," I said. He stepped inside and looked around. "The same smell," he said. "Coffee and dog." "Say what you came to say," I told him. He looked tired. He took a seat. For a moment he didn't speak. Then he said, "I'm sick, Marta. I don't have much time." I felt my throat tighten. I didn't want to care, but part of me still did. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because of Anna," he said. "She deserves to know who I am." I frowned. "She knows who you are. You're her father. The man who left." He shook his head. "It's not that simple." He took something from his coat. An old photo. It was faded and yellow. I saw myself in it, younger, smiling, holding a baby. Beside me was Carlo, and beside him, another woman. I stared at the picture. "Who is she?" I whispered. He looked down. "Her name was Irina," he said. "She was your sister's friend, the woman who died in the fire." The words hit me like cold water. I sat down slowly. "What does she have to do with Anna?" Carlo's voice broke. "Marta, Irina was Anna's real mother." I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. "That's not true," I said. "You're lying." "I wish I was," he said. "You remember that night? The fire, the panic. Irina was in the hospital, and she gave birth before she died. You were there, Marta. You held the baby first. We couldn't save Irina. You said we should take the baby, raise her as ours. You said no one needed to know." Tears filled my eyes. I covered my mouth with my hand. My heart felt like it was breaking open. I remembered that night. The heat, the smoke, the tiny baby crying in my arms. I thought she was gone, but she had lived. Anna. You lied to me, I whispered. He shook his head. No, we both did. You raised her. You loved her. She's your daughter, Marta, in every way that matters. But she deserves to know the truth. I stood up and walked to the window. My hands were shaking. Why now? I said. Why tell me this now? He looked at me with tired eyes. Because I can't die with that secret, and because she needs her papers. She'll need them to travel to London. I turned around. My tears were hot on my face. You should have told me years ago. He nodded. I know. I was a coward. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The silence filled the room like thick smoke. Then I said quietly, Leave the papers with me. I'll tell her. He stood up slowly. Thank you, he said. As he walked to the door, I asked, Did you ever love me, Carlo? He stopped. I did, he said softly. But I loved her too, and maybe that was my punishment. When he left, I sat down again. My heart felt heavy, but something inside me was clear for the first time. The truth I had hidden, even from myself. That evening, Anna came home from her classes. She was full of life, talking about London and her plans. I watched her as she spoke. Her hands, her smile, her soft eyes. The same eyes I had seen in the photo of Irina. Anna, I said softly, sit with me. I need to tell you something. She looked worried. What is it, Mama? I took her hands in mine. You are my daughter, I said. You will always be my daughter. But I need to tell you about the night you were born. Her eyes widened, but she didn't speak. I told her everything. The hospital, the fire, the woman who died, the baby I saved. I told her about Irina and Carlo. I told her how I loved her from the first moment I held her. When I finished, she was crying, but she didn't pull away. She leaned against me and whispered, You're my mother. No one else. We held each other for a long time. I felt her tears on my shoulder and mine on hers. For the first time in years, my heart felt light. I didn't need wine to feel warm. I didn't need to hide anymore. A week later, Carlo passed away. I went to the church to light a candle for him. I stood there in silence, watching the flame. It was small but steady, just like the life I had built from ashes. When I came home, Anna hugged me and said, I got my papers, Mama. I can go to London now. I smiled. Yes, I said softly. Go and live. But remember, your story began with fire, and it ends with love. That night, I opened a bottle of wine, not to forget, but to remember. I poured a glass, lifted it to the air, and whispered, to truth, to peace, to the old lush who finally learned to stop hiding. Outside, the sky was clear. The stars shone above Chieti, small and gentle, like quiet promises. and for the first time in many years, I felt free. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.